Seca for the 2023 Porsche Deluxe Carrera Cup North America. What a weekend we have had, and we will finish our race coverage with the second live race. We're on the left-hand coast of the United States of America, just up from the seaside itself, on a circuit that has been bathed in history down through the years. 2.25 miles, 11 corners, Andretti hairpin, the first major braking area, onto the dry lake bed itself. Then you're climbing up the Real straight to the corkscrew. Get it wrong at your peril, and we saw action there this morning. We'll tell you a little bit more about that in a moment. Then it's all the way downhill to the finish. Turn 11 is a good overtaking spot to be able to make up some positions on the inside. So we'll see a bit of defensive driving there as well when we get to the business end of the race. The cars are in the pit lane, and I'm delighted to say that joining me, John Hindorf, in the booth is Nick Tandy. Nick, welcome to the broadcast.
Hello, John, and hello, everyone.
Good to have your company. Have you had a good weekend, first of all?
Fantastic weekend. Yeah, the sun has come out for us on Sunday, just in time for Carrera Cup racings, which is fantastic. So, yeah, I've been able to drive around in some special machinery. We managed to overpower, let's say, the 919 hybrid, which I was running yesterday for some demonstration laps, and unfortunately it's not running today, which kind of cancels out my fun for today, but I get to join you and hopefully watch another cracking Carrera Cup race that we saw this morning.
Just before we look at the highlights from this morning, when was the last time you drove a Carrera Cup car in anger?
About 3 weeks ago, testing at Donington Park in the UK.
That's handy.
So, yes. Maybe I can grab some insight during the broadcast.
Right, well, I'll be leaning on you quite heavily, as the last time I drove a Carrera Cup car was back in the 996 days, and I only did it once, at Brands Hatch. As we've been mentioning, it is the second race of the weekend. We had, well, a little bit of controversy at the start of the race early this morning. Let's see how it all played out here at Rennsport 7 at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. Top of the race, pretty decent start by Will at the front of the field, but it all went wrong at the top of the hill and the corkscrew, as there was a coming together between our champion-elect and the pole sitter. Will Martin dropping down through the field. Alex Sedgwick having a great battle through the race with Michael McCarthy in the Kelly Moss racing car. No quarter asked or given between those two. And then they went side by side into turn 4. Sedgwick pulled out of the gravel, unfortunately not for the other car. Brand new winner. Congratulations to Tom Sargent, the 4th winner this season and the first for him and McElrea Racing. Brilliant stuff earlier on. Riley Dickinson, part of that incident, Nick, at the top of the corkscrew. One of the few, in fact, that might be the first mistake I've seen him make this year. Uncharacteristic contact there through him. Clearly, we're not saying that it was deliberate, but the sort of thing that you can get caught up in on cold tyres at the start of a race? Well,
especially this morning, and there was a single dry line at the start of the race. It cleared up a bit towards the end. But, yeah, it was tough for all the guys, I think, to pick the braking point on cold tyres up at the corkscrew, and the two cars went side by side. Both came out with broken steering, which is, you know, a shame. But, yeah, I mean, what a great season from Riley this year. Actually, John, the one thing I noticed, the starting grid has changed since qualifying. So that's because you can reset the grid on your fastest lap in the race, and the race conditions this morning were way better than when we qualified yesterday. Shay Adam is standing by in the pit lane as we're coming round to start the clock, at least for this second race of the weekend. Good afternoon, Shay.
Good afternoon, John, and welcome to the booth. Nick, happy to give up my seat for you for this race. A couple of things I noticed when the cars were stage ready to go out for their lap. There's a lot of scratches on the front, particularly of the two lead cars, Will Martin and Alex Sedgwick, battle wounds from this morning's racing. But there was a lot of discussion in between the green flag this morning and the green flag this afternoon, because even though the green flag is going to start now, the car is still one more lap behind the safety car. There was a lot of driving that wasn't up to our normal standards, and the drivers have taken it to task. So a lot of the drivers are effectively on a warning probation at this point, where if they drive cleanly for race number 2, no further action. But if there's an incident, we might see some penalties coming up for the final round of the championship in Circuit of Americas.
Shay, Adam down in the pit lane. The cars have come through, and we have actually started the race. And we'll go through the grid for you. Will Martin on pole position from Alex Sedgwick in second. So the two JDX Racing twins on the front row. Riley Dickinson starts from third again with Tom Sargent, this morning's winner, alongside him on row 2. Sean Varwig for Kelly Moss and Jason Hart are on row 3, with Michael McCarthy and Jimmy Libre on row 4. Dan Clark and Travis Wiley are on row 5, and they make up the top 10 all pros. If we look to the Pro-Am and the Am classes, Efren Castro, champion-elect provisionally, in 17th position for Kelly Moss in the blue and red number 65. PJ Hyatt in second, a couple of 3 places behind. And in Am, Mark Varmy on pole position again, so that's 2 points for him. He extends his lead in the championship back to 15 points. So it's going backwards and forwards. Scott Noble won this morning. He'll start from second in the Am position. Were there any penalties thrown? It'll be at the bottom of the qualifying results. I don't think there were any penalties thrown this morning. It was just, there we are. Fastest lap causing a red flag. They were lost all times. Okay, they were done. That was before. That's fine. So what we do get then is the guys who started at the back earlier on today, because they had their times disallowed. Of course, they have had times in the race itself. I reckon we've got 35 cars on the grid. James McCann and Grady Willingham right at the back, with Michael Merritt in 33rd. Tom Balamis in that multicoloured striped car is in 32nd for Kelly Moss. John Getz, good run for John this morning, is in 31st. These are all Am runners. And Bob Mueller will start for the Octavo Tequila Racing Machine in 30th position. Stand by for action. Nick Tandy alongside me, John Hindhaugh. The final race action of our live broadcast weekend from Porsche Rennsport 7 reunion. 2 more races for Porsche Deluxe Carrera Cup in 2023 after this one, and they'll be at Kota. The green flag's waving. It's a really good start by Will Martin as he gets a good jump down towards the first corner. Here comes Riley Dickinson round the outside. He tracked the pole sitter all the way down. 2 wide, 3, 4 deep as they come through, and Riley Dickinson's got 2 Michelins on the dirt on the right hand side. Alex Sedgwick in the red, white and black car tries to come through on the inside. It's Will Martin who's got the whole shot. Little bit of bodywork being thrown up there from one of the cars. Sean Varwig right in amongst it as well as he was coming through. Now I hope that's not part of the front splitter on one of those cars, because that is absolutely crucial. Turn 5, we've got a car going right. I think that was Michael McCarthy. We'll see in just a moment. Turn 6, precise turn in required here, and that's not easy when you've got side-by-side action. It was Mike McCarthy. I can see him dropping back a little bit there in the number 7 with the Kelly Moss car with the pink on the machine. But at the front of the field, a good start and a bit of redemption, Nick Tandy, for our champion-elect Riley Dickinson. Strong move early on, tried the outside manoeuvre, didn't work, but he's established himself in second place. What happened down at turn 5? Dan Clark, I think it was, getting into the Michael McCann car that just pushed the number 7 wide. Further up the field, that might have been Jason Hart, I think, that was all 4 Michelins off. Well, are you pleased you're sitting here and not racing out there?
Well, it was a much cleaner start than this morning. Great first lap from Will Martin, and actually a great jump from the inside line. Both Will and Riley Dickinson getting the jump on Alex Sedgwick to the to the first corner of turn 2.
Well, you've been racing against your team. JTR's been racing against Will Martin, of course, in Porsche Carrera Cup GB.
Yes, Will has made a guest appearance back in Carrera Cup GB, where he was racing the last couple of years. He came to one of the crack operations, JTR, the team champions from back in 2018. Did a great job, finished second in both races in Porsche Carrera Cup GB on his on a weekend off, let's say. Yeah, and he's looking good this weekend. Had a good gap in qualifying. He's gapped the field, probably got a second up to 8/10 now at the end of the first lap. So yeah.
What's he like as a character? What's he like to work with?
He's a very smart guy. You can see this. He's very determined. I like the way he goes racing. You know, he's got good aggressive style and likes to compete. And he's obviously got speed as well. Obviously, first year in America, learning new circuits, running the car with ABS, which is different to how he's used to running the Carrera Cup cars in Europe. But yeah, it's been a good season.
I presume it's easier to go from not having ABS to ABS rather than the other way around?
I would imagine so, yes, because the ABS it's a great feature. Obviously, it gives you more stopping capability for the cars. It gives you a safety net. When you're running without ABS, it's sometimes a lot easier to make mistakes. It makes passing possibly a little bit easier when the cars don't have all the same kind of braking potential. But it does mean that there's less chance for mistakes and hopefully more cars on track with the ABS systems.
And the reason Porsche Motorsport North America, by the way, ticked that box on the options list for the Carrera Cup, the 992 cars, was that their thinking is that the career drivers who are coming up through this series will move on to GT4 or GT3, which of course GT3 will be at Le Mans next year, and that does have a sophisticated ABS system. Efren Castro, by the way, in the 65, up to 17th position for Kelly Mawson, leading Pro-Am. He's got Nick Boole and Jake Pedersen, 2 pro cars between himself and the GMG racing machine of Kyle Washington. That's the blue and yellow car. Mark Cavami and Scott Noble are absolutely locked together, coming down through the corkscrew. They're the cars with the yellow numbers on. Red numbers for the pro cars, green numbers for the Pro-Am, yellow numbers for the AMs, and they're coming down to the final corner now. That championship in AM still very much in the balance, and unless one of them has an absolute nightmare between now and the end of the season, I reckon that will go down to the last race, possibly the last corner of the last race at Quarter in a few weeks' time, where this series will support Formula One. And they are going nose to tail now. The purple, yellow and white car is Mark Cavami. He is the team leader and team owner of MDK Motorsports. Scott in the blue and white car is the next car back. Huge grid here, 35, and this is by no means the biggest. Means that the biggest we've had. We've had 50 cars this season, Nick, in this championship. This 992 Cup car has really moved the game on for Carrera Cup and Super Cup around the world. It's a very sophisticated machine.
It's a fantastic race car, and one-make racing. It's always close racing. You can see the action on track. It's really good that when the driver makes a difference. When the driver's making the difference, it gives you a chance to prove yourself, and I think it gives you an equal playing field, and it entices people to come racing. You know, the sprint style, the 40-minute races. It's a good duration on track, lots of track time and lots of action.
And also teaching the drivers what they're going to need to know when they move on through their sports car and endurance racing careers. There's an element of tyre management here, because this is quite a long race for a single manufacturing championship. You start full, you're managing your Michelin tyres. That's kind of like a stint, getting on 40 minutes, 45 minutes, getting towards a stint of GT racing in other championships.
It is. It's a decent race, and there is an aspect of tyre management. I know from qualifying there's tyres left over from qualifying, because it was I think it was a wet drying session, and so basically all the cars are starting on fresh tyres for this race. But it is a tyre management thing. You know, there is limitations to the amount of camber and the amount of pressures that you can run in the tyre as a safety aspect from Michelin. And once the tyre pressure comes up to an optimal level, which will happen probably as early as halfway through this race, there is a lot of tyre degradation, and the guys will know this. You'll want to be protecting the car, protecting the tyre from the beginning to hopefully hang on to something towards the end.
Shea Adam is in her more natural habitat for the longer races, normally sits where Nick is at the moment. She's down in the pit lane.
Meatball flag is out and being displayed. That's the mechanical black flag for car number 28, Bob Mueller. His driver's side door has popped open. That's got to be unpleasant, Nick.
You do not want a door open in any race car. That's dangerous. It's suboptimal, Nick, is it? It's distracting as well, more than anything else, because the natural thing you want to do is to lean forward and try and drag it close.
Yes, well, I imagine there's been contact at some point, because for sure, you know, you wouldn't have started the race with the door open. They have carbon fibre doors, and obviously, you know, if there's damage to it, it could have bent the catch and the handle, and yeah, there's obviously a problem going on there.
Still half an hour to go. We'll have a quick look at Bob Mueller's car as he heads into the lake bed. Now, Will Martin with a second and a half on Riley Dickinson. Alex Eggswick has just dropped back a little bit, so that's two Brits in the top three. Alex coming back to motor racing after a little while away in that JDX car. He's working with PT Autosports to bring new people into motorsports, both behind the wheel and behind the scenes. Really interesting concept from the guys at PT, and Alex is running very well here this weekend. Tom Sargent in fourth. He's about 5 seconds away from the leader at the moment.
Yeah, I'm just seeing, John, I think we saw some debris on the start of the first lap out of turn 3, and it looks like it's come from the car of Alex Sedgwick. It looks like he's missing his front splitter, which is obviously holding back his pace and creating this logjam behind, letting the front two to disappear.
It's a rubber lip almost that is an interference fit with two screws on the edge of the front splitter itself. But that is absolutely essential to manage air at the front of the car, and he'll be absolutely rooting the front tyres.
Yes, you can see his mid-corner pace here. With Tom Sargent right behind, looking for the inside line. He's struggling to get the car rotated mid-corner, and yeah, Tom's all over him looking for a way past.
Sargent, great run this morning, picked up the pieces when those around failed down into turn 5. Weaves left, waves right, but that red, white and black car is the cork in the bottle at the moment. So behind Sedgwick, we've got Sargent in the blue and white car, Sean Varwig, Speedy Dan Clark, yes, the man who used to run IndyCar, that's the yellow and green car, Jimmy Libra, and Mike McCarthy is recovering as well. There's the 28 car that we mentioned earlier on. Driver's door was a problem. They've sorted it out, and the cork in the bottle has popped at the corkscrew. How appropriate.
Yeah, Sedgwick, I mean, with the front splitter gone, he's going to be struggling under braking. It looked like he kind of outbraked himself at the top of the hill there. And Tom Sargent, our race 1 winner from this morning, was through.
Sargent up from Australia with McElrea Racing, also from that part of the world, looking to make a name for themselves in this championship. So just a simple outbraking issue then, and couldn't get the car turned.
Exactly that, yeah. Loss of downforce on the front axle, lack of braking, lack of turn, and nearly some more contact down the hill between the two cars following.
I think that was Sean Varwig trying the off-track line. We saw that a few years ago in IndyCar. Meantime, now Tom Sargent in third position. Sedgwick's holding on to fourth. That's Dan Clark, I think, that's nipped through into fifth. Yes, it has. He took advantage of the skirmish at the corkscrew last time around. Will Martin leads by 2.3 seconds from Riley Dickens in second. That's JDX number 9, the black and gold car. Now this is a moment or two ago at turn 1, and this oh dear me, it's not been a good day for Michael McCarthy. That's the second time he's had all 4 Michelins on the dirt, getting on the outside of the corner. There are rules about leaving people room, Nick, but ultimately if you're on the outside, you always got to be wary that you're going to get gently ushered off the side of the circuit.
You've really got to be fully alongside, unless the car in front, obviously, then you've got to take the racing line, and sometimes the track runs out of room.
Will Martin leading by a comfortable 2.2 seconds with 26 minutes still to go. Nick Tandy and John Hindorf at the Porsche Deluxe Carrera Cup North America second and final round of the Rennsport Reunion 7 weekend. We're at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca, new pavement here which has changed the character of this racetrack a little bit. It's a lot smoother than it used to be, and the lap times, well, we've annihilated the lap record. We've taken over a second out of it. It used to belong to Trenton Estep, and I suspect that it will go down even further this weekend as well in this race.
Yeah, but interestingly, John, the lap times are currently a bit slower than we were this morning, even with a damp track, but obviously the temperature has now come up, so the track's probably given up less grip. We've got Will Martin out front at the moment with a 23.9 best lap, which is just half a tenth shy of the lap record set this morning, so the pace is strong. It'll be interesting to see now. Tom Sargent up into third place after getting past Alex Sedgwick, what sort of pace he can have. He's just put in his best lap of the race. See if he can close down on the leading pair.
Obviously, JTR have been super successful down through the years in this category back in the UK. What is the key? Got to spin it down at turn 5 and thinking in the... Oh, OK, that is... there's somebody off the circuit as well. So that is the multicoloured car that had the problem this morning for Tom Balamis. And that's... I've got a feeling, is that the 63? I think it's Mike Merritt of McCann Racing. Yes, it is. He goes right. That's the one with the tangerine on it. And then Tom Balamis. Now, did he spin in sympathy? And in fact, I think we also got James McCann going off in the 83, the GT Silver car. Am I right in saying that GT Silver is still the colour that they are originally supplied in these cars, Nick?
Yes, every Porsche Cup GT3 that comes from the factory comes in the same colour, and that is silver.
Any colour you like, as long.
Exactly.
Will Martin at the head of the field. I was going to ask you, what can you do as a team? This is spec racing. Nothing you can do with the car right now. There's no tools inside the car other than... is there a brake bias on this car? Other than that, the driver has got what he's got. But what can you change as a team? Where can you help your driver in terms of setup?
Yeah, so this is one of the keys of a driver in this series. It's not just about driving, it's also about working in a team. And there are certain limitations to what you're allowed to change on the cars. Things like springs and dampers are fixed. So this takes away the development costs, this sort of thing, and teams having to carry around multiple dampers and springs to circuits. You can change your basic geometry, so your turns, your cambers, your ride heights, things like this. Your rear wing is adjustable, so you can move your aero balance. And obviously a key for a driver is figuring out what they need for their driving style, and the team then working with them to figure out how each driver needs a car that's set up slightly differently based on their driving. So there's a lot that goes into it, and a lot that the team can do to help each driver.
It's like Travis Wiley just got... Oh no, he's sitting right in behind Michael McCarthy in 9th and 10th position. Dan Clark with a row of Porsches behind him. Dan sitting in 4th position, and basically 4th down to about 11th or 12th are all within striking distance of each other. That might have been a bad choice of words there, Hindhuff. Maybe take that. They are all within sight of each other, let's say. And this circuit has provided some great GT racing down through the years. What are your favourites, Nick?
Laguna's a great circuit. I mean, it used to be frustratingly abrasive with not a lot of grip. I'm looking forward to running the new surface. This is for sure.
Because we came just before it was ripped up and resurfaced.
The IMSA race was, or the IMSA sports car WeatherTech race was the last round before the track got resurfaced yet. So yeah, it's a great flowing circuit, but yeah, often frustrating, and the dust gets on the circuit as well in places, which creates unexpected grip conditions and excessive tile. So it's a roller coaster.
In terms of the cars that you drive, which are the GTP, the Porsche Penske Motorsport 963s, will you have to throw away everything in terms of data that you learned this year when you come back next time to the circuit, or will you at least use a baseline setup and then try and modify from there?
It pretty much, you will be learning straight again. Oh, we got a spinner down at the Andretti hairpin. Looks like there was contact down there in the middle of the turn.
Almost a decent flick turn, but not quite. Don't roll onto the gravel, and if you do, don't spin the wheels. Don't spin the wheels. Gently, gently, please. He's lucky to get out of that. And was there a little bit of assistance there? I think there was. Yes, there absolutely was. And that was Kyle Washington and Chris Bellomo who came together. Chris in the grey and copper-coloured car. Not sure he was quite there up the inside there.
It looks like he's kind of drifted up a bit mid-corner. There's just been contact, but I mean, that was the fight for the final podium position in the Pro-Am class. So obviously, a position to be fought for.
Mark Kavame has got a second and a half on Scott Noble. This is very good news for his championship chase. They're in 24th and 25th overall, but still this line of cars from just outside the podium positions all the way down to just outside the top 10. Now, is this a one-groove track? Is this a one-line track? And if so, what are these guys planning and scheming right now, Nick?
Yeah, often when a track gets resurfaced, the racing groove does rubber in a lot quicker than the rest of the circuit. I'm not totally sure about how this repave has been holding up, but it was a bit like this morning when the track was wet off the line and dry on. It's a single groove track, but yeah, to pass, you've obviously got to go offline at any point unless somebody makes a mistake. So yeah, you pick your braking point and hope for the best a lot of the time.
Thomas Murrell and Nicky Hayes side by side there, and Tom just getting the worst of that one as he continued. Did get a bit of dust on the tyres, a bit of gravel in his travel there, which he probably didn't expect. Back to our leader, 2.6 seconds. This has been a very measured and controlled race from pole position, albeit, but you've got to execute when the opportunity arises. Riley Dickinson through from third to second in those opening exchanges, is now 3.4 seconds back. He provisionally has the championship all sewn up in that number 53 car. Not on the podium this morning, and in fact indeed a non-finish. That was his first non-finish for over a season and a half, and his first time off the podium for well over a season as well. Efren Castro sits at the lead of the Pro-Am category with the blue and red number 65, and he's had a decent run up. He's up to 18th position. Jason Hart has just gone by him for MTK Motorsport, but that wasn't a class battle, so he again right now provisionally is champion with his nearest competitor Marco Cirone not at the races this weekend. Marco, we wish you well. Hopefully see you at a racetrack again as soon as possible. So Will Martin controlling things at the front of the field. Riley Dickinson, Nick, has really focused in this year. He's a young lad. He's only 21, just turned 21, but he's already in this is I think his 4th or 5th season of this type of racing, so he's got a lot of experience. Obviously he's already looking forward to the Porsche Young Driver Shootout, and that can literally change a driver's life.
It can, absolutely. You know, Riley's done a fantastic job this season. Clearly, you know, his points situation at the moment is, champion with 2 rounds to spare. Amazing job. But yeah, so one of these drivers will have the chance to go for the international scholarship, which is based from Porsche in Germany. And the winner of this, there will be a candidate from each Carrera Cup around the world, and the winner of the international scholarship going for the season in Supercar.
Talk a little bit about that in a moment and what that could do. The battle for the Am lead, and this is the battle at the front of the championship. The purple car is Kavame. He was the leader, but Scott Noble is on a heck of a roll. The momentum that he has had since the middle of the season, he's been nearly perfect since the first race at Road America. Wins, poles, fastest laps. He hasn't had the 2 poles here this weekend, but it looks like he may get the second pole. Tiny mistake by Mark there, trying to go a little bit too defensively and maybe off that rubbered-in racing line.
Yeah, absolutely, John. You know, they were battling hard down into 2. It looks like Kavami's been laid on the brakes. I'm assuming that Noble's, had him under pressure for the last couple of laps, and finally he's managed to pressure him enough into making a mistake, just braking a little bit too late, and Noble making a great move up the inside.
He came into this weekend with 18 points between them. It went out to 20, then it's gone back down to 13. as it stands right now. Battle pack further down the pro field. See Alex Sedgwick in the red, white and black car. He's in behind Jimmy Libre for MDK Motorsports. As that's about half of the pro field sitting in behind each other. I just want to go back to that young driver, the International Young Driver Scholarship, Nick. You've been involved with Porsche for a very long time. Your start in motorsport was different, if not unique, from most of the people we talk to. Who's got a bit of side-by-side action into 6, which is always going to take my attention. I think we've got through that all right. Yes, we have. You started on dirt ovals and mini stocks, but what does it mean to a young driver as the Nola Sport car is fighting back at the moment for Tom Merrill and Bailey Hall as they come through? What does it mean to a young driver to get into the good books, if you will, to get into the Porsche family and have them mentor you through that part of your career?
It's a huge opportunity. You know, you've got everything is kind of laid out in front of you. The hard bit about it is then being the guy that gets the chance to do this, you know, and it's tough. You know, there is lots of people, obviously lots of drivers, lots of Carrera Cups around the world going for these junior places from an international point of view, and the Porsche Super Cup obviously being the international Carrera Cup, let's say, with these exact same cars. But if you do a good job, you know, you win races and you win championships, then you know, there is people watching and people like Porsche that need drivers and are going to potentially ask you to go and race their cars in the future.
Is it a good time to be a sports car endurance racing driver? Well, I mean, no, it's a serious question, because we have lean years in sports car racing at the moment. It seems like every manufacturer in the world wants to have a prototype program and a GT program and go out and take those classes at Le Mans and in IMSA.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I think we're in a boom, you know, it's period for the sport, hopefully so, with so many new manufacturers in LMDH and LMH, and also with GT3 kind of combining regulations across the world. It's a great place for the sport and drivers, teams. You know, it really is a great place to race.
13 minutes to go. It's Nick Tandy with me, John Hindhaugh, in the booth. Shea Adam is down in the pit lane with an update.
You guys were talking about the international effect of this series, and hello to one of our international best friends, the voice of Porsche Carrera Cup Australia, Crailsy, who's tuned in. I met a friend of Crailsy's, that would be Roy Hall, father of Bailey, a little bit earlier on, and he informed me just a little bit of their travel schedule. Now, Bailey making his series debut here in North America earlier on today, racing here at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca, and then at Circuit of the Americas to end the season. But in between there, he is racing last weekend at Sandown, this weekend here at Laguna, next weekend at Mount Panorama, which he lands on Wednesday to go do the track walk. He leaves immediately after this race. And then a couple weeks later, the week after COTA, he's racing at the Gold Coast. So John, Bailey Hall getting a lot of experience at some wonderful tracks. As out on the track here, we've just had a spinner. Jake Pedersen has gone around.
And spread a bit of gravel on the track at the final corner. I noticed Harry King's going to be part of that Carrera Cup race, supporting the Bathurst 1000 next weekend as well. Again, a driver that you'll know very well from his exploits in the Porsche Carrera Cup. See, that's just a quicker way of saying it. Porsche Carrera Cup in the UK. I wish them all well. A very special place at the Mount Panorama Circuit in Bathurst, New South Wales. Looking forward to go back there in February next year for the 12 hours. Not based in Bathurst, have you?
Not been to Australia, no. I've really the 1000, the big race, the great race.
Yeah,
fantastic. Would love to have a chance to go.
That's right up your street, that,
absolutely.
Isn't it?
You know, the supercars, and it's a race that I watched as a child on TV. You know, so yeah, but it's just never come across my kind of calendar to ever go there.
Go back to a GT and race there?
Maybe one day. It's never really taken my fancy, to be honest, John. I like my racing in the States, do a bit at the Nürburgring, and occasionally get to race at home even nowadays.
Yeah, really. Very nice. We're down into the last 11 minutes. That was the voice of Nick Tandy. Porsche factory driver. Sitting next to me, John Hindhaugh, in our global broadcast centre. It's just come down a little bit at the front of the field, only by half a second or thereabouts in the last couple of laps. Will Martin very much holding on to a comfortable lead. In fact, it's come down again. Ooh, now that's come down quite a lot. That's half a second. Tom Sargent's just put his fastest lap of the race in. It was a 25.1 for Martin last time around, a 24.4. Now, with 10 minutes left, right now, Nick, I'm not saying that this is anything to worry about for the JDX Racing driver, but he needs to keep a weather eye on this, because it looks like Riley's picking his pace up, whilst the leader is actually just letting it slide a little bit.
There could have been a bit of traffic. I've noticed, the cars have been catching the slower cars at the back of the grid and going through traffic. If you get held up at the corkscrew, for example, it's an easy half-second loss. So I think Will's, he's driven an exemplary race so far out front. Both Will and Riley stretching out at the start, making a good gap whilst the others were squabbling, and it's been a decent run, like you say, from Tom Sargent since he got past Alex Sedgwick at the earlier in the race, and looking good for another podium to complement his great win this morning. Actually, I was talking to his coach, or somebody who's been helping him out recently, Matty Campbell, one of my colleagues at Porsche Penske Motorsport. And he was saying, just how well that Tom had come on, and what a great result that was for him this morning.
Well, Matty absolutely knows how to drive one of these cars. He's been an absolute star. And perfect example is what we were talking about before, of coming up through the Porsche ranks. The GTP squad of drivers, both in IMSA and in the FIA World Endurance Championship, the majority of drivers have had Porsche GT experience.
Yes, absolutely. I think anything you can drive at any point gives you experience, and it's great to see not just Porsche, but a lot of the LMDH, all the prototype manufacturers, also giving the GT stars of the world, if you like, a chance in other cars.
Efren Castro just off the circuit on the last corner and kicking up a bit of dirt. That was our leader in the Pro-Am category. Jason Hart had gone by him. Stefan Rudzinski was close to him as they went across the line. So he's moving, that's the main thing. I can see him tracking around the circuit on the track at under 8 minutes to go. And Riley Dickinson has brought it down to 2.6 seconds at the head of the field. Barely a tenth between the two lap times last time around. Tom Sargent is a further 9 seconds further back. Efren Castro continues to lead in Pro-Am. PJ Hyatt in the dark grey AO car, the Kelly Moss Racing run machine. The number 23 is in second. Chris Palomo, after that little rubbing his racing incident earlier on, has established himself in third in Pro-Am. Scott Noble has pulled out 2.2 seconds on Mark Kavami. If they finish like this, with Scott having the fastest lap, that would be 7 points between them, unofficially and very provisionally, because arithmetic was never my thing. It was double period on Friday afternoon. Guess how many times I was there. And so that is how they would go into the final weekend. It looks as though Castro is fine. Tom Palama is pulling out of the way. Tom Palamis, excuse me, pulling out of the way to let faster cars go through, including the battle for that Pro-Am category, that Am category, excuse me. There's the gap, with Scott doing a great job. How much for any driver, and particularly a non-pro driver, Nick, and you've worked with non-pros in your career when you've been a mentor to them, how much is confidence and that momentum once they get the belief that they can win and they can win on a consistent basis? How important is that, particularly when you're mounting a championship charge?
I think it's massive. It's confidence, and it's learning that, I've always said, if you expect to win, you probably, or you might do. If you expect to lose, you will lose. This is the thing. So it's having that mindset and just being, mentally ready to go and run at the front of the field. I think you just kind of get used to it.
Well, Scott's had a cracking second half of the season. Started off really well, actually. He won at Sebring and then had a bit of a lean time Then he got a couple of second places at Watkins Glen, and then the poles, the wins, and the fastest lap just came in a flood, and that has continued through to the end of the season. And hitting form at the right time is part of winning any championship, whether it's stick and ball sports or in motor racing. Effectively, it's a league, isn't it? And you've got to come out and perform in every single fixture that you go out in. Oh, and Efren Castro's off again. That's at turn 3. Now, he'll be fortunate to keep that going. Don't spin those back Michelins. There goes Scott Noble. So that's the lead, and much, much more gone from Efren Castro. What's happened here? On his own, Nick. Just lost the back end of the car.
Yeah, I don't know if he's turned in off the side of the track on the gravel or what. It'd be interesting to see a view into the corner. But, yeah, obviously lost the rear on entry, ended up in the gravel on the exit.
So that means, I reckon now, that PJ Hyatt in the Kelly Moss dark green car, just gone through the corkscrew with the white AO branding on the side. I reckon he's our new leader in Pro-Am. Chris Palomo will be second. Moise Uretsky will have come through into third position, perhaps. If not, he's going to be very close. Now, let's see where... There is the AO Kelly Moss racing car, just coming to the Mission Foods bridge now. Is that black or is it dark green? Hard to tell. It's dark green, isn't it? Fantastic colour in the afternoon sunshine. So PJ, he's been driving some of his classic cars, and he's got some great cars to bring out here. You have a go in any of the older cars this weekend?
I have not, John, unfortunately.
But you would have, if asked.
Asked to drive a
962
great racing car
or a 956.
Probably have had a go. Yeah.
Probably.
Or it'd be better today though in the sunshine than yesterday in the cold and the wet. That was very un-Laguna Seca, like I would have said.
You've got to have a word with Pat Long. He hogs the best drives for himself.
Don't blame him.
You can do that when you're Grand Marshal, I suppose. What Porsches have you not driven that you would like to drive? Oof. In terms of race cars?
I think I've been lucky enough to drive... I haven't driven the RS Spider.
Have you not?
I don't...
Sorry, have you not?
I haven't. Never had the opportunity. So I've been lucky enough to drive pretty much all of them. I would say the GT1, the 90, let's say the
98, 99,
98, yeah. That was probably the most amazing car. It was incredible to think that it was, you know, a 20-year-old car, and when I drove it, it felt like it was an absolute brand new machine. You can see why the thing won at Le Mans.
You also drove the ultimate iteration of the 919 as well, didn't you?
I did indeed, the Evo. It was a fantastic car. But, I mean, interestingly, John, with 2 minutes to go, it looks like Will Martin is going to catch a clump of back markers at the back. Riley Dickinson's just fallen off the pace a little bit, back to almost 3 seconds at the moment. But whether this will close up with two minutes to go.
Yeah, he's catching a wee clump of cars. It's where he catches them now. He's on the straight at the moment, and as he comes across the line, Riley Dickinson will see this and be cursing his luck that he's not a little bit closer to the back of the leaders. It won't happen for the leader down into the Andretti hairpin, and all of a sudden you almost see the body language of Riley's car pick up there. He braked really late into the Andretti hairpin. One down for our leader. Next up will be the number 32. That was John Getz, who's a very savvy AM driver. Kyle Washington, GMG Racing, is the next car ahead in the multicoloured machine. It's the number 32. And he's 6th in Pro-Am at the moment. Then Jake Pedersen, who had that spin earlier on for Raiden Racing. He might have slightly less than happy Michelin tyres after he was on the dirt. Now this is Riley Dickinson's opportunity. He's got to get past that car in front of him. Meantime, coming down to the final corner, it'll be white flag next time around, I reckon. Porsche Carrera Cup, Porsche Deluxe Carrera Cup, North America, second race at Laguna Seca. Will Martin by 3 seconds. Efren Castro, he goes across the line with Moise Uretsky, not got past him. So Efren in 3rd position. He will not be happy with that. And there is one car. Is there a car there that you can get by Efren? No, there's no Pro-Am cars within striking distance, so I don't think it'll be any better than third. PJ Hyatt and Chris Belomo look nailed on for the top 2 steps of the box in Pro-Am. This has been a very measured drive, Nick Tandy, by Will Martin. He's qualified on pole position, so did the job in the qualifying session and has turned that into a victory.
A fantastic weekend, yeah, really dominant, like you say, qualifying on pole with a decent margin, pole position for both races. Obviously an unfortunate incident at the start of race 1, but he's driven an absolutely measured race this time, out front the whole race, got the pace, got the fastest lap of the race. Yeah, fantastic drive from Will Martin.
Shows a bit of character that he put the first race out of his mind. You've got to do that if you're going to be a pro driver. Even if you keep going, you're not going to make everything up with the next corner, for example.
Exactly, just reset, you know, there's another race coming. You're always unsure if, you know, there's new parts go on the car, if everything's going to be exactly as it was before. So the team have done a great job to repair it, and yeah, he's on his way to the flag.
Well, we don't know what Will's plans are for next year, but if he's coming back, you've got to think of him as a championship contender, and it will be the 5th different winner of the 2023 season. JDX have the big trophy, and so does Will Martin. That was actually nice driving there as well, because he didn't try and overtake the 2 cars ahead of them who are fighting for position. He's allowing them to have another lap, so they'll continue their battle as they're having their own little personal scrap. Riley Dickinson, a bit of redemption for Riley this morning. His unblemished record not being held through the season, but another podium finish for him ahead of this morning's winner, Tom Sargent, in third. Dan Clark, another top 5 finish for the Brit and the Nola Sport Riser Nicholas team, from Ryan Yardley making up the top 5. Jimmy Libra, again, a good top 10 finish from Jimmy, quietly making his way through to 6th. And the rest of the top 10, Sean Varwig, Travis Wiley, Mike Cooper and Alex Sedgwick. He'll be disappointed. Michael McCarthy off the track a couple of times in 11. Bailey Hall in his first weekend had a top 10 finish, 7th this morning from memory, and 13th this afternoon. PJ Hyatt has taken Pro-Am ahead of Chris Belomo in second. Scott Noble wins and has the fastest lap in Am. That is going to cut that 13-point lead down to 7 points. I did it on my fingers just to check, and Nick is giggling alongside me because I actually did, just to check. Unofficially down to 7 points then as we go into the final 2 races supporting the FIA Formula 1 Grand Prix at the Circuit of the Americas. That's a great circuit for this track. Think what you want about Formula 1 racing there, but these cars run very well indeed. Nick, thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you very much for having me. I enjoyed that very much. Well done to all the winners.
So right at the end of the race, action at turn number 11. That's one of the Nola Sport cars that got turned around. Is that Tom Merrill in the distance in the 17 car? Yes, it was Tom Merrill in the 47 car. Yes, right car. I said the wrong number, but it was indeed Thomas Merrill. Can't take anything away either from our Pro-Am leader, PJ Hyatt, in the very dark forest green AO machine. Benefited from Efren Castro spinning out. Chris Belomo in between those two will be on the second step of the podium. And in Am, it's another victory. The Scott Noble roller coaster ride of a season has become a road roller. He's steamrolling his way back to Mark Kavami, and the gap just 7 points between those two. Third position, John Getz on the podium for Wright Motorsport. Scott coming back into the pit lane, or the back of the paddock, in that immaculately turned out blue and white number 10 car from MDK Motorsports. 1-2 again for MDK. Mark Kavami cannot keep coming second to Scott Noble if he's going to retain his championship in Am this year. Will Martin comes back to the paddock. All results provisional until post-race technical inspection, but for now we can congratulate the British driver Will Martin, who is atop the podium the 5th different winner that we've had this year. It's been a championship that's been dominated by Riley Dickinson in second, who is our champion-elect provisional, call it what you will. He can't be caught at the moment, but as somebody reminded me, you can't get docked points in championships, so we'll wait. So we'll wait till the end of the final race for that. Shea Adam is down in the pit lane, and Will Martin, as he reviews his helmet. We don't often get the chance to talk to our winners live. The golden bib is there, and Will Martin discussing life with his team, the team belonging to Jeremy Dale and Harrison Bricks, supported by Porsche Columbus. He doesn't look like he's done 40 minutes, does he? That's very annoying.
Looks very fresh, yeah.
Very fresh indeed, and this is quite a physical track. Shea Adam down with our 5th different winner of the season for Porsche Deluxe Carrera Cup North America.
Go, Shea. Will Martin, race winner once again, but this time it's at Laguna Seca. What was it like to just take it from the pole? You weren't even harassed out there.
No, not at all. You know, pole was super important to get around here, I think. You know, the first race didn't go as planned, but, you know, things happen. But, yeah, we came back and redeemed ourselves for this race, so I'm super pleased with how it went. The team have just consistently done a great job all year round, so massive thank you to them.
And what is it about second races that you seem to just come to the front? And I mean, it was the second race at Laguna. Second race, Laguna, second race Watkins, second race Long Beach. It's just these second races.
Yeah, I know. Lucky second, I guess. I don't know. But hopefully we'll carry this on to Kota.
Good luck in Circuit of the Americas.
Thank you.
I might be able to count the championship points, but I can't. I might be able to count the championship points, but I can't count the race victories for Will. He has had a race wins this season, so we still have only had 4 race winners. Working too hard on the championship points in and there. Thank you to Nick Tandy, who has been our guest in the Global Broadcast Centre here for the second race of the weekend. 2 more races to go. We'll have them live for you on IMSA Radio and IMSA TV as we support the FIA Formula One World Championship in the Circuit of the Americas. What a weekend at Rennsport. What a weekend. Laguna Seca with 911s of every vintage from its 60 years, and we've had a few slightly different Porsches as well. Justin Bell didn't get the result he wanted. We've had a Porsche party par excellence to celebrate the 60th birthday of 911 and the 75th birthday of Porsche motor cars. On behalf of Nick and Shea and all of our production team, I'm John Hindorf. Thanks for being with us. We've enjoyed your company. Bye-bye.